and then join or not join the board. He doesn't join today. Let me see.
Oh, I didn't realize,
He's joining now.
I didn't realize you have like such a high tech.
Oh yeah. Hey Chris. Just started. I'm not sure what your schedule's like. Did you want to go first?
Hello.
Yeah, give me 1 second. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah. I can explain what the project's for, why you get set up. So.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so what we're looking at hiring for is for our jury management system, so the system that kind of manages the full kind of life cycle of a juror in regards to pulling all people that are applicable for jury duty, randomly selecting them, and then handling the management of them up to the point where they serve for jury duty, and then also reimbursement afterwards of like kind of marking them off and making sure that they don't have to do jury duty afterwards, like for so long.
So it's applications that manage people that do jury will do or jury.
It's for the jury team that is managing the jurors in regards to like, hey, we have a trial, we need to grab so many people for this. And because of how large Maricopa County is, we're trying to make sure that it's can scale vertically, but also horizontally as well for possibly other counties in that regard as well. So some challenges there, as well as looking at putting this more cloud-based and versus on-prem, which we've done a little bit more in the past. So aspect of that. But ready, Chris? Need more time? Okay.
Oh, I'm good. So, sorry. Nice to meet you, sir. This is Serge.
Yeah. Nice to meet
Serge.
you.
Sorry I couldn't be there in person, so my apologies. So, I'll have to jump off the call here shortly as well for another meeting, but this one I'll be asking more of like work history questions, while Luke and Santos will be asking more of the technical questions.
Yep.
So my first question is, why did you or did you want to leave your last role?
Well, it was layoff in Wells Fargo. So Wells Fargo will have a national leader in layoffs, unfortunately.
We talked to a guy the other day that was in charge of the application for layoffs. and
He was laid off too?
he was laid off with the same application he worked on, so karma there, I guess. But yeah, definitely saw that with Wells Fargo.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years from now?
No, I want to continue to be computer programmer, developer. For me, most important is kind of have interesting project. It's hard to define me what I find interesting, but sometimes projects that you might consider boring could be interesting for me, and vice versa. Be useful, and kind of feel that I'm doing something that's useful.
Tell me a time when you disagree with your manager, and how did you handle that situation?
Well, usually I say that I disagree, but I mean, if it's kind of in a big meeting, then I kind of postpone it till the one-on-one, or I may email, hey, you said something, or email something like, hey, I disagree with that, and I explain why. Usually I try to be like reasonable, and I give like option, kind of like, hey, we may want to do it this way. Like typical example, like managers say, hey, we will give to this client a patch included in release blah blah blah, and let's say on the meeting, and I'm like listening, okay, listen, this release will be like in 6 months, and client wanted like tomorrow. And after that I email like, or text or chat like, hey, listen, clients want it kind of right now, so we need either communicate to the client so they don't have expectation that it's going to be soon, or that kind of stuff.
So how do you stay up with the latest technology and trends, especially what's going on this year?
Well, I try to constantly study. So basically, whatever technology I'm working, I'm trying to see what the latest versions, what the latest trends. Right now, obviously, AI-related trends, but still there are like newer versions, some popular products. Also ask AI, like help me to learn this and create. Usually every product that have that popular on the market, they have like some kind of like, let's say Angular. They have like tutorial website, Angular.io, and it's actually constantly changes. So if you like every 6 months or just get on that website, you can see that they have some changes, and you basically need to watch it, relearn it, try examples, try writing examples. Most important, actually, try to write examples. So, by the way, they excluded from this resume, like I put like GitHub, there is like search, click off, and there are some other GitHub, just one word. There are my code examples. And yeah, they excluded everything. Like I had on Stack Overflow, like extensive record.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, unfortunately, all been removed.
And that's what the interview's for, so we can.
They said that it's they was like unable to submit resumes through the
Might have like link blocking. Or
yeah
something
link
like that.
blocking. Yeah.
So what development methodologies have you found most effective and why? So
Say it again. What development?
methodologies, like Agile, Scrum, Kanban, etc. What do you find most effective?
That's a difficult
So what do you
question.
prefer for like?
I prefer what we call waterfall, but it should be very properly made technical documentation. And it's not necessarily means that it's gonna be slow, because if there are like people, or including myself, we are constantly rewrite documentation, it could be kind of agile in a way. Versus sometimes there are like agiles which have a lot of meetings, but create rather obstacle, because like people just waste the time. I mean, I won't say completely I'm against of agile. It's maybe a good thing that you have a meeting opportunity to screen something like, hey, I need help with, or we need to solve this and this. But yeah, like I guess kind of a combination of waterfall and agile, I would say, more productive.
So how do you ensure code quality is consistent across a team, especially on the same application you're working on?
So how you insert?
How do you ensure code quality and code standards are consistent while working with the team?
Okay, well, it should be done on the server where we push the code. So right now, that's like ADO, but I don't know exactly what you use in like, let's say a lot of people use ADO. There are like Sonar Cubes, there are different third parties that they literally block your, maybe not block, but they give you a list of errors related to code quality, security, whatever. Amount of tests, so it's basically on server base. Here I only say that sometimes it also happens excessive. Sometimes you really cannot even push anything without break it. And those tools itself, they like rolling somewhere on separate servers, which could be unavailable, and you like pushing some hard change, and they're not available, and it blocks everything. So it should be reasonable, but yeah. And they could be, those tools could be connected literally to code. For example, there are code standards, documentation. There are ways to do it. It could be wide and big.
What's the most challenging project you ever had to work on? Would you do anything different if you had to do it again?
What kind of challenge you have in mind? Is it like technical challenge or time challenge, or
Just the most challenging project, not a specific challenge, but just a difficult project. Or what's the hardest project you ever had to work on? For me, when I moved from on-prem servers to Azure servers, that was a huge project for me. That's probably my biggest project that I ever had to work on. So what was your biggest project you ever had to do? Can you just help explain it to us and what you learned from it?
I see what you're saying. Okay, so each project can have like different complexity. So usually, if I don't know technology, it's usually a challenge. So I have to jump on it and learn it quickly. But sometimes, like there are like some cloud technology, like OpenShift for deployment, for example, was a challenge. And it's that particular one may lay down a little bit beyond of specifically computer programming. So if I meet like computer programming challenge, let's say like new language. So I had a project that was artificial intelligence involved, some image recognition written in Python, and I didn't know Python. So it actually was like pleasant challenge. Like I learned it, I learned this library, and it's literally was. I spent a lot of time beyond the 8 hours, but it was, pleasant. Versus could be a challenge, like I mentioned, some deployment situations that also I need to learn, but it's a little bit. There is a stuff that I'm like, hey, I want to outsource to somebody and say like, hey, who is more like network engineer type of guy.
All right. So you mentioned SonarQube. Did you help implement that, or more just using it, or you could set up a place for it?
Not specifically SonarQube. I mean, I implemented from CI/CD pipeline, and I implemented a lot of stuff. Not particular SonarQube. Usually, like writing my own pipelines, connecting some code signing tool, for example. I assume SonarQube would be about the same, kind of theoretically. Should be some parameters, should be some.
Yeah, it is for the most part.
Yeah.
Modifying the pipeline to call out that, similar to like a code signing tool or something like that, as part of like the build pipeline that you pick as part of those gateways for CI/CD.
What have you used for building out your pipelines? Azure DevOps, Jira. What environments have you worked with?
Well, the latest was ADOR, and it was also like OpenShift, more like kind of a Unix really. And again, like I said, that because OpenShift is like very different from ADOR. I kind of had trouble over there, and it's all was based on those like JSON configuration files. Which
did you turn around and start liking OpenShift, or because I haven't worked with it myself either, so I'm curious. I know you said it was initially challenging, especially if it's like a different paradigm. But
I use a lot of help. I wouldn't say that I started to like it or don't like it, because I get used to it.
Yeah.
I think could be better. Everything develops, so I want to see what would be, let's say, next version of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that in corporation everybody had trouble actually with that.
Yeah.
It was a lot of issues with OpenShift, and frankly, I'm surprised that corporate architect like pushed down on us that technology.
Probably knows a guy at OpenShift.
There are people that love
It
some
could be
stuff.
like
There
that,
are people. There are different. Like in the past, years ago, I worked with TeamCity. There are different tools. Each have kind of one person.
Yeah, all their pros and cons.
Yeah, pros and cons.
Do you like coming into the office, remote, or hybrid kind of schedule?
Definitely. It's a loaded question. Moderately in the office. You know, sometimes I admit that sometimes better to solve something if I am in the office. But again, it's can be within the reason. So like if not every day, let's say. And maybe also keep it in mind that I live in Chandler, for example. I would prefer not to drive in the rush hour. So, you know, either come a little bit, like start from home and come like at 10 o'clock or at least 9 o'clock, but not at 7 when the most of the rush here. And so, and I saw many corporations allowed it. I don't know how here.
Well, so you live in Chandler.
So yeah, at the end it will be my question, how you manage this hybrid.
So what AI tools have you used? So Copilot, Claude, Gemini, ChatGPT, all of them?
Mostly I use for coding specifically. I use GitHub Copilot. I also try Microsoft Copilot, but it didn't show itself well. I know it's rapidly increasing in quality, but so far I found a lot of issues with that, which is sometimes like make my life actually harder. So it's kind of create code that compiles, but it's just I end up. I tried Claude a little bit. I know it's like kind of they're pushing it for Angular. I saw some Chinese, like I think Mistral is Chinese, right? I saw some like third-party Chinese tools that are like really good for UI development. That you literally like picture of yourself on a kind of drawing of the UI, and it's like generate your code in any, I guess, let's call it language, Razor or, you know, whatever, XML for Angular, you know. There are those, and actually quite cool tools exist right now that I say can drastically speed up. And it's also my question, because I spoke on the market some companies that like do not allow AI in their companies. I don't know, for some security reasons.
Yeah, I think it's mostly, it's been, I was very, not against it, but with like Copilot had a lot of its faults. I found it a lot better for like debugging.
Yeah.
It was really good at that, but code generation was on the poor end. But it's, with those model upgrades, it's making big strides. But especially with like Claude in regards to code generation, it's really impressive of what it's doing. And we're trying to look at utilizing a lot of those like busy operations, you know what I mean, where you're just writing stuff where it's not designing the structure, but just like filling out the structure afterwards of doing that, of trying to use some AI tooling there, as it's come a long way, but you need to have that base knowledge to be able to identify when it's...
Yeah, I definitely, yeah, I can write code either way. I can write it completely manual. I can write it with the help of AI. Definitely I prefer AI. But in case of AI, I definitely need to review it. And sometimes, like specifically those LLM AI, like ChatGPT, for example, Grok, by the way, pretty good. ChatGPT recently started to, if I ask for code, they're like pushing like, hey, you need to use different tool. And
probably trying to train their model. That's where you're talking about China, where
Yeah.
they're trying to go a lot more lightweight but focused models. So how that like expertise, and that's probably ChatGPT is probably doing more general knowledge base versus coding, because there's other models for it. So they're probably pushing it off so that it doesn't keep training and causing like bad data.
And I can see like bloated code. Like frankly, now I can see the code and I can say like, hey, this code was generated by AI. So my goal is, even if I generate the code, my goal is to rewrite it so it doesn't look
like still.
So it doesn't look like it's generated by AI. Not, and again, I don't care about the look. I care just
Code
fast.
ownership.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Gotcha.
So that's all my questions. I have to drop off for my next meeting. So it's nice meeting you, sir. I'll leave you with Luke and Santos. We'll be asking more of the technical side questions.
okay.
But
Sounds
nice
good.
meeting you.
Nice to meet
and,
you. Thank you, Christopher. You have a
Talk
good
to you guys later. Thank you.
With full stack development, we end up doing like a lot of different aspects of like front of the house with like the UI aspect, middleware, and kind of back end. Where does your kind of passion lie, or what do you prefer in regards to that?
I see. I will tell you that I definitely prefer to touch everything. And I already kind of said that specifically, and I see that Christopher kind of mentioned. Yeah, that's just.
Threw you off the siren. Yeah, no, you're good.
I understand when down, yeah. He mentions that like Sonar Cube, like setting up. So like my specific expertise not in administration of those tools. I mean, don't get me wrong. EDO pipeline I definitely would love to do. But coding wise, I prefer to do both. Back end, front end, just pure SQL. I may say I don't think it's your organization. Actually, I remember a long time interview with Disney, and they have very strict division between SQL database and I said straight away like, you know what, I want to do both, and they're like, goodbye. Right? So it's like they send me out to the
With
interview.
full stack, I feel like because you're
Yeah.
doing all the aspects,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of ownership, but then there's areas where it's like trying to find where your passion is, because I think that really shows some of your strengths. So I'm just curious. That's what.
Like in resume, sorry, I will answer. In nice, like I work for Isogenics company. It's like it's a multi-level corporation. But anyway, so they have the separation. So they literally give me like a lady, a girl, that she said like, this is your DB developer. You don't write any queries. Like, of course I was writing queries, but I end up, and it was heavy on backend application. So eventually, it's easy for me if I just tell command, hey, write me this query. And I worked like 7 years there, and I noticed at the end after several years, my knowledge of SQL kind of like dived, so I have to
refresh it.
yeah. Actually, the same happens with the AI tool. It was apparently research, but people who extensively use AI and they test them for without AI, they like also they.
It sounds like you're
Yeah.
more interested in like the problem solving aspect of finding those
Yeah.
within like what you're doing.
Yeah,
Go
go ahead.
Oh yeah, my question was, when talking about what you prefer, right? I would rather ask in your last project, right? Whatever it did, what did you do from a development perspective?
Oh.
What explain about the
It
project?
was it was
what
50-50. It was 50-50. What
what
I can tell
project
you.
is and what
Yeah, tell us about the
technology
project, like
yeah.
technical detail.
Well, it was let's call it was internal banking audit application, which was it was mostly Angular, and on the back end it was API .NET API, I think pretty typical scheme, and SQL. It actually had two databases. It was MongoDB. They had Cosmos with MongoDB interface, so they have two databases and
On Azure. On
in
Azure.
everything in
Azure.
Azure. Everything in
And,
Azure. Everything in Azure.
Would you say you're stronger in Angular or .NET?
Yeah, I'm strong in .NET. But
.NET.
Angular, yeah, I also.
So on like just to try to get a better understanding, on a scale of like 1 to 10, where would you rank your .NET skills, and where would you rank your like Angular skills? So that,
I need to be like, yeah. Well, in .NET, like, I don't know, 7 or 8, in Angular, like, probably 1 or 2 point less. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
That's it.
yeah,
So very
Specific
fresh.
type-
Very
type
it's pretty
No,
close.
I worked with Angular for a while, I worked with Angular, like I say, back and forth like 10 years already, so,
Oh.
yeah. I mean, I'm maybe like, I tried those signals, I didn't work with them like in a real project, but everything else I worked, so.
So you said only 1 or 2 for Angular, you said? What's your rating?
No, he said like a 7 or 8 .NET. And he said like a point or 2.
Oh,
so like a point or 2 down. Like
or
it's
6.
close.
Yeah.
It's close, but
Yeah.
not at the
Yeah,
same
I
level.
thought her.
And like no. You heard 1 or 2. You're like,
Yeah.
wait, it's
So-
there, and then you missed the following
Yeah.
part, like the follow up. So
I would say I even actually recently just kind of for myself, like I actually wrote like started to write like console application right on TypeScript. So it's not Angular at all,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
on TypeScript,
Just
like
straight
some
TypeScript.
some utilities to process some text login information, that kind of stuff. It's actually pretty
I
cool.
like TypeScript
Yeah.
a lot, especially going from JavaScript. It's like
Yeah.
the structure to the mess that is JavaScript.
Yeah, it's have a lot of like you can pull a lot of libraries that like for example I wrote utilities that I think I put in my GitHub, pure TypeScript with the libraries that again it's like passing some. It's parse some XML. Oh, I did like for example XML beautifier. So there's a lot like libraries that do XML beautifier. I mean, I wrote myself. I use this library, but some stuff,
Was it the challenge yourself, or was it more because you're missing something? You're like, I'm just gonna write it.
I challenge myself, and I actually have not seen it on the market.
Okay.
And in those Visual Studio, you can click Ctrl-Shift-F in Visual Studio Code, but those beautifiers not always you want. They either like beautify it too much, or like I want like some attributes I want in line, some attributes I want a vertical, so I might play with that kind of stuff.
Okay, I gotcha.
The same with SQL, it could be not
Is that how most of your GitHub library is more for yourself sort of aspect?
just for myself.
Okay.
There
I was curious if
there is a lot of junk there too, frankly.
Yeah. No.
There is a lot of junk too.
So this application, you can continue with the application. So you said Angular on the front end and .NET API
On the back
and
end,
then,
yeah.
and then
SQL and Mongo on the back
And
end.
where is it deployed? On-premise or Azure?
In Wells Fargo, everything is in Azure. Yeah.
In Azure.
Azure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is there a separate team to does the deployment, or does
No, it's actually changes. So lately they changed that our team have to do. That's why I said like I have to deal with OpenShift because our team they provided help, but that help was not so good. Because it's like you open the ticket, wait several like 5 business day, and by that time it's like better I do it myself.
And how did you host these applications? Is it app services? What kind of application? What kind of services do you use?
Most just Key Vault. Well, I mean, SQL Server, Key Vault, itself application could be Dockerized or not. Just basically, no, I didn't use those app services. I mean, I know how to use them, but
Were you
I didn't use function. Again, I know how to write them, but.
were you part of the initial setup, or was it more like maintenance of after those app services or that cloud architecture? Were you helping an initial setup, or more they're already there and you're kind of just maintaining those cloud structures?
Depends. Like I said, it was actually several applications. Some of them I wrote from scratch. Some of them I already inherited, and actually some of them was migrated because they had a lot of old code that have to be migrated. Let's say from SSIS, we need to create .NET plus Angular application.
Less like writing of the code, but I'm curious your experience with the architectural configuration in regards to that like cloud environment, if that makes sense, versus like the applications going into the cloud of like your experience of the act of putting it into the cloud, if it's more maintenance or if you're helping that initial orchestration of it, your experience kind of there with Azure.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. So basically, if I know that application go in cloud, they need to be Docker, put in a Docker. I kind of thinking that hey, this is like API Go like a separate box and UI Go is a separate box, and how they will exchange data. So I think it this way. So that I don't develop one big applications that need to be like lift and shift, and it's going to be expensive. A big corporation we may don't care about money, I guess, but
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
So which brings me to one of the questions that I ask all the guys whom we interview. So the application, there are some applications that we have are big monolithic applications.
Yeah.
Okay. So what would be so say for instance we build a more modern architecture, scalable applications, which and think of it like the jury application. Luke explained about, right? It's going to be used throughout the county, several uses, publications. How do you build such a scalable modern, using a modern technology? You can use the board to
Yeah.
explain what it is, but if you
Yeah.
find
You can talk through it, draw it up, whatever you
yeah,
do.
I see.
best.
I see. Let me, yeah, I may go to the board. Let me think. Well, first of all, yeah, I guess let me go to the board.
Yeah.
First of all, yeah, it sucked, by the way. I mean, because those applications hard to. So if we have one big application, like let's say old one, that have kind of everything, like database. I mean, I saw applications that do not have even business layer.
Yeah.
But let's have some business layer. Hopefully some API. It could be WCF. I saw that's animals.
That's been so. That's been.
But again, it could be UI, and let's say UI have code behind old one, right? We call them the web forms, the disaster web forms. Yeah, I don't like to work with web forms. I mean, unless I'm migrating that.
yeah. I know what you.
Code behind. So the challenge here, code behind. So here's the code, and by the way, it's a database. Here also code.
Yep.
So main challenge is to understand this code. So I need to understand the logic for whole application, understand this code. It could be very challenging. And here could be code behind, it could be C#, let's say, and it could be JavaScript. Could be vanilla, could be mix of jQuery, some like crazy libraries, Knockout, whatever. Old Angular, for example, AngularJS. It could be AngularJS. Yeah, and then it's a really sucky situation. So first of all, I need to learn application how it works to understand what I'm doing, and then break down it in. Let's say we break in. I don't like.
You can choose the technology. Say let's choose the technology Angular, .NET, Cloud. Okay, and database SQL Server. Okay.
Yeah, let's don't talk about just about cloud. Let's just talk so yeah. I will try to, again, depends how much time we have.
Yeah.
I will try to break. I mean, for development.
Yeah.
I will try to reuse what I can. So if it's have like REST API here, that's great. We will like save it, but we may need to rewrite it with as much of the logic. So I will just kind of create 3 layers. So like. And it's all like cloud-based boxes. REST API, I mean, let's say one database, could be several databases, right? Could be several APIs, public and internal, not public, I don't know. I will simplify it. And obviously UI here. And this is .NET. And UI could be...
Let's choose Angular.
yeah, let's say just Angular. I mean, we can run it... we can use .NET as a server, let's say Angular. But again, I will try, like here will be a lot of logic, so I will try to move this logic here as much as possible. I will tell like here could be a weird logic and store it like old applications have like crazy logic in the database. So they have like those gigantic enormous storage procedures. By the way, here AI helps. Like I say, like convert, hey, translate this code from SQL to C# or to TypeScript,
Entity,
or vice
yeah,
versa.
like,
or
make
entity.
this store
Yeah,
your
create
entity
me
vice versa.
entity framework architecture, blah blah blah. So, but bottom line, by the way, I try to move code not here, no, not like that. I mean, I will save the tables probably. And I will say what I would I will try not to change the structure of the database, because sometimes client want not just migrate application but also improve it. Oh, it's a problem. Yeah. So anyway, logic in stored procedure I also will try to put here in REST API, and then with entity framework it will generate the query. I mean, some big queries I will have to leave here. So it could be a fork. Some here, but I will say fat one goes here. As much as possible goes here.
With multiple APIs, and like you mentioned, we just had that kind of one example of the database and one example of a REST API, but you said that you could have like multiple databases and multiple APIs to kind of help break out that.
Yep.
How is that a like database per API breakout? Is it, or how do you kind of differentiate between those correlations of multiple databases versus multiple APIs?
I wouldn't say no. No, the same API can connect. It could be like, let's say this is MS SQL, and it could be Mongo, and it could be the same API. No, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. I mean, unless we have some specific, let's say, kind of a business logic here and
There's always-
reporting here, maybe
always
we
edge
can create a
cases,
separate
yeah.
API for that, and based on purposing, I'm not sure. No, I say not. We don't have to do it. No, we don't have to do it. It would be the same. But again, here could be two API, public and not public, and they both will. So could be second API that connect to both of them.
So
What else? Like what to impress you? Let's do SIR database. Let's do Neo.
let's talk about
Vector
say,
database.
say for instance that particular old application, okay?
Mhm.
It had bad authentication, username, password in tables. So they were you going and validating and then doing certain actions based on that. How would you change in the new architecture?
For that one, I will definitely try to use. We have like a Microsoft, basically. We have like a standard tables in Microsoft SQL for authentication. We have like a whole stock standard libraries. We can use those here from REST to Angular, we can use those JWT tokens. But yeah, I will try to use some kind of standard stuff, OpenAI or those user tables. Migrating them could be a little bit tricky. Depends how the encrypted passwords here. I mean, if it's real old application, I expect that it's not encrypted or there is a decryptor at least. I think I'm a little bit floating here because I don't create new application every day. So that's like to how I will do it right away. It's like not. But yeah, there is a standard Microsoft authentications. There are like standard table, there are those user tables.
Identity server tables you're talking about, right?
Yes.
The ones that once you deploy them, download them as a package.
Yeah, that's like generated basically for us. Yeah.
So, have you used Entra? Azure Entra?
No, what is that?
It's kind of an identity server for Azure and everything. Active Directory, replacement of Active Directory, the old style on-premise of Active Directory.
I didn't. I know that there are like some people who do like Windows authentication right now. It's less common. Yeah, I didn't use that one, but I saw people using basic kind of SSO based on you logged in the Windows, and based on this is logging in the database. And the user actually likes it usually.
So the Angular, right? Say for instance, the user is authenticated. Like there are two types of users: admin users and public users.
Yeah.
There are some screens in the Angular app that you want to restrict, that only admin users can see. How will you protect those pages in Angular?
Basically, okay, so it should be like kind of two levels, but ideally, first of all, when we load the page in the component, we need to check if user have permissions. But sometimes we don't even want them to go. So there is a road guard, basically like a table again here. So like, there is like a road guard that we don't even want them to go to certain URLs. That's it.
Yeah. Logging and auditing. How do you build logging and auditing in this application?
Did you have Elma in your job requirements?
We didn't have it.
That's one of our old applications.
Probably different company.
No. Elma we have for ISIS, but
It
we
might.
don't go away from that.
Yeah.
So
No,
doesn't
it's a
matter.
modern.
Doesn't matter.
You're doing a modern architecture, okay? So we don't want. So
you-
go with the
you
best.
can- you
Go
can-
with the best.
You consider Elma old?
we don't want to do Elma.
You know, I don't know what's modern. I don't know what modern login. And we did something else in my last project.
Yeah,
That was not
what
that.
observability technologies do you have experience with? Similar to like Elma, Datadog, Splunk,
I use
OpenTelemetry.
Splunk. I cannot give you answer right now.
Okay, no, Splunk's
But-
understanding.
Bottom line, there are a bunch of login libraries and tools, a lot of them. Yeah, you're right. I need to look it up, what's the most modern one, and plug it in. So basically in the days, and it was like 10 years ago, I used Elma, and it was just like, listen, half a day.
Right.
Yeah.
Half a day. I was like, wow, I got everything. It was login, it's in database, if it's login through the API, I can just, go to specific web page and see the logs, and it was good. I'm sure there are libraries like that, more modern than that.
Yeah, there are tons of things. I find it hard to choose which one, but each one has its pros and cons. Now think of it, we are building this application in the cloud, right? So Azure, okay? So from that perspective, you have to think.
Should be something under Azure where we put our reports, that it puts our reports in some Azure location that we need to look from perspective of troubleshooter. Because it's a big problem if tech support troubleshoot application and they don't have access to the logs. So they need, we need special permission to see event view logger, we see some txt logs that have errors. So yeah, we need to have solution that somewhere here, we need to have solutions that return us logs in the basically in a web view, and also copy it here, because sometimes developers have at least read-only access to production database, but do not have access here or here. So it should be both.
So in that REST API, right? So when you said you have one REST API to do everything, right? So say for instance, you introduced a new cool feature, okay, and then you start to see the user base has increased 10 times and 10 times more, more hits on the API. So all of a sudden you start to see it. How would you design, accommodate such a thing, such a scenario?
Well, listen, if it's under Azure, we need to see what bottleneck is coming over. If it's just more users, it's more connections.
More connections and it starts to slow down, it's not acting well, lot of deadlocks, timeouts, everything, whatever it is. So how do you handle it? How will you design
It's a separate issues. Deadlocks and timeouts is separate issue. It's already more like troubleshooting, but again, I will look at, hey, it might be happening in the morning when people log in, right? I saw it
Okay, let's take the basic. So the traffic is increased. Mainly traffic has increased.
If it's just the traffic, but overall, if it's just server overloaded, it's basically on Azure. We will ask more, I don't know specifically, but we basically will get different models that have, which is more expensive, but it's have more servers that, servers in different states or different countries if it's international. Again, swapping probably not the case because it's just more users. But yeah, I think mainly if it's more people, it will be more on the Azure. What could be, which by the way can cause some database problems, so like BigQueries. They say they take whole table somewhere, which can cause locking and stuff. So we may need to redo some functions, some Azure methods that they will have pagings, that they have actually where clause in them, and because I also saw the old applications that like they just grab the whole table and copy it in UI in some kind of cache.
Like super front load. And
Yeah. And it's actually it might take like 20 minutes to load because it's database loaded, and people know that they need to log in and go drink coffee like at breakfast. Yeah, so some stuff need to be rewritten, and it's actually, by the way, it's very challenging with the API because we cannot change API unless we completely own. So my last application was actually very good because we completely owned all parts of it.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say I rewrote API, I changed flag. It deploys the same day. But it could be different components, different departments. So in this case, we need to add a different version of this API, and it could be a challenge.
So going off of something you said, like way earlier with Chris, you mentioned that you find some things interesting that others might not find so interesting, but also the opposite of something that others might find interesting but you might not find interesting. Do you have any examples of something that where you'd like others would find it interesting? Because I totally get the first one of aspects of like, oh, this is super boring, but it's a complex issue, so it's very interesting in that regard, and you can really sink your teeth into that. But yeah, do you have any examples or thoughts in regards to something that you others would find interesting? You're like, it's kind of
I do, and basically my point was trying to say that I never know, because people sometimes asking like kind of like fishing question, what you prefer to work, UI, backend, or what kind of big organization, small organization. I'm like, I never know the answer. That was what I tried to say.
Yeah.
But giving you example, like was a company where I work kind of like, let's say they had a task that they didn't know what to, like payment processor. Actually, it was an important task. Mm-hmm. It was an important task. And for some reason they consider it extremely boring. And they're like, okay, who wanna deal like with payment processors? And it's like, hey, warning, it's like command line, it's no interface, but we need it. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I feel like this is multitasking, multi-threading, So because you connect over at night was a lot of so customers bought stuff in the daytime and it was processed at the midnight. It's an interesting schema, yeah. And I work with that. I'm like, listen, that's an interesting task because I'm dealing with those multi-threading, also API. Like how many times you can call API in parallel. So it was like actually it was different payment processors. Some of them allow 7, some of them allow 20. So like sometimes I increase multi-threading and it's actually start to go down. So it was some interesting unexpected stuff, and I literally enjoy that. And again, no UI, just digits. That's an example that strangely I found that task interesting, and everybody was kind of like, "Oh, we don't want that." You don't know.
Do you have any other questions? Otherwise,
I don't want to say that I don't like UI. I do like UI. I just want it's
totally
just example.
It was just more understanding. Like I find, like I said, I think earlier, depending on where your passion is, I feel like ends up being like more of a strength, or shows kind of like what you're interested in and stuff like that. So that's more where trying to gain a better understanding of.
So, say for instance, if an organization mandates saying that we got to use AI tools to accelerate development, and you said you have a principle, you want to make sure your code, has your styles and everything, right? So what would be your approach to mix both productivity at the same time, making sure, you know, the whatever code you return has your signature? Or, you know, how would you go about strategizing that? Would you just ignore AI and just go with your thing, or do you think, what would be your strategy to, how will you balance both things?
You know, it depends from this how fast it needs to be. If it needs to be super fast and I kind of ready to risk, I can just like literally copy paste code that AI generated, which is bad in general.
Which we don't want, right? But
yeah.
what would be your approach to have a proper balance, right?
Yeah.
What would you do?
Well, frankly, I don't know how to tell AI, at least to Grok, how to tell them that, hey, you need to write in a specific, maybe it's already exists, but I don't know how to tell them, hey, I want specific style. I don't know how to do. I mean, I sometimes can tell, hey, break it down in separate unit. Basically, whatever I do, I try to do a different way. I give different prompts, like, you know, do it from this side, do it from different side, and it can generate me completely different code for that. And then I will literally start rewriting it. So I compile, let's say it working, and then I start to kind of watch already. Then I start to do manual work. Again, if I see something that, I mean, sometimes I'm like just lazy to write some kind of big if-else block. I say like, okay, take this, optimize it, make it separate method. I saw it creating a mess from entity from our perspective. I saw it's always doing it slow queries, and so like, you know, this part it's better to put in SQL. Create me separate functions that call it storage procedure. So yeah, basically manual work after that. Yeah, and specifically about my signature, I don't care about that. I mean, I try to do code like style like Microsoft do if it's .NET, and TypeScript is also Microsoft kind of, even though it's open. I try to be readable. Back in the days was a book like writing, you know, for humans, writing code for humans. So like I write this like method like pick up this bottle and put it like in the desk or something. So I write this like self-descripting. Less common. I do write comments, but I'm trying to write it self-descripting, like one screen size method.
Comments are fine until the code changes, and then it's a sign that is pointing incorrectly. So
I try not to.
So you want your code to be like self-descriptive.
Yeah. Do I comment out and check in it in GitHub? Usually not. Sometimes do. Usually, if I feel that this code can be reverted soon, I may do it, which is usually against. Yeah, it's usually against the policy and stuff.
Do you have any questions for us?
Only question, like again, if I get selected, I know you have a lot of candidates. So, what's the hybrid situation looks here? And
looking about 2 days in office at least. I come in like 3 days, but due to my position, but I think we're looking more at 2. Not sure exactly what tomorrow holds in that regard. I don't see beyond 3 days in the office for that, but that's kind of up to not like Chris and his boss. Here. Maybe a little bit more in person right at the start to gain more familiarity, get jump started on that, and then more hybrid, like more work from home after that. Of like, now we know you're set up. We don't need as much like constant communication in that regard. But that's kind of the work from home hybrid situation.
I see. Sounds good. Yeah, thank you. What else? I mean, I kind of, from your question, I understand. I feel that it will be probably a migration project. I think I understand that technology is mostly .NET and Angular. Am I right?
Yeah, it's .NET and Angular for the most part in Azure Cloud, but it is a greenfield application. But curious.
Greenfield.
Yeah, it's a like completely new application. Like we're moving away off of a vendor and building our own. So we don't have it's not legacy code; it's all new code for that regard. But trying to understand how you would design and your familiarity with those architecture and those type of problems is they just come up very often everywhere. So it helps dig more into the tech stack you're used to, the things you're familiar with in that regard, and good practices as well there. So
I see. I never know. Like I said, like sometimes I try to write like there are like graph databases like Neo4j.
yeah.
It's like in Facebook, friend of a friend of a friend. So apparently query to get friend of a friend of a friend could be like heavy on SQL. So there are like graph databases doing. Was a situation that I have to like deal with already pre-existing application that was Python and Neo4j graph.
it also helps in that regard of understanding those questions, like the questions that you ask in that regard of, well, there's this scenario and this scenario kind of helps highlight experiences as well. Besides that, like some people just have this one experience building this model, and then when they go to the board, they're like this, and then you ask questions about how would you strengthen this, like. So you build the .NET API, like so. It helps get a better understanding.
Well,
of
that's the standard
scope.
stuff. Yeah, I told you standard stuff. There are people who do completely understand. My point is about this. Why I brought this up that like a lot of people, we need to learn something completely different. Python, I never saw it in my life. There's some change like vector database. What the heck is that like? Mm-hmm. So I jump on it. Surprisingly, it was very simple. By the way, those graph database, it's simple stuff. You can I don't know. 3 days, and so yeah, I'm open for that too.
So for the Angular application and everything, right? I don't know how comfortable with the UI stuff. Are you good at UI UX stuff and everything, or do you get some help? From
Yes. No. I will be on myself. I mean, I may ask for some help, but mostly I will. Most of my questions probably will be like related to business logic. Mm-hmm. To how this actually works, because until I understand that, technology doesn't matter really. This way, if I know that
just checking yourself first.
This UI will be good. I work with asynchronous React.js. Yeah, no, I'm good with that.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
No, I'm good.
All right. I think we're
out of time already. Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Okay.
But you're good. And I can walk you out. Thank you for your time. Yeah,
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yeah. Everything.
You take everything?
Yeah, I do. Yes, I don't want to come back. Not today, at least.
I'm not the rooms I could get into.
Oh, I see.
Well, thank you very much for your time.
So where is the exit? Just I go this way? Okay, I think I
Where did you end up parking?
In that big parking structure.
In the parking structure that's over that way?
Yeah.
Then you can just keep going. There's that like central building where we met up, that central exit. If you keep going down the hall, there's another exit there, so you can
I thought
hop
that
right out there.
You know, I will go outside because when you go outside,
Then you'll understand better where you're at.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Nice to meet
Yeah, I
you.
appreciate it.
Okay, where is the Jefferson Street? Jefferson Street, how to get, because I get in the building not here, I get in somewhere, so I will get out and go this way.